What's up guys, I'm Zach Nava of Nava Reptiles. Welcome back to the channel. So in the last video I mentioned briefly that I was excited about a meeting I had coming up with a guy by the name of Blake Stewart. His company is called Stewart Designs. So I didn't exactly go into details. I've been really excited about it though. So what that meeting was about was to actually see the finalized versions of my logo that they came up with, along with all my branding, my colors. They also are the ones that help me nail down the company, business name, channel name, and so yeah. Without further ado, I'm going to get into that, and I'll show you guys also like my reaction seeing it the first time, things like that. I'm really excited to share this with you guys. So here we go.
So as we get started, each concept is loosely inspired by the imagery of a snake. I say loosely because nothing is incredibly visual, nothing is incredibly graphic, as we kind of touched on with some of the competitor logos that, we don't want anything that's just going to look like a clip art, piece of something generic that everybody's seen 100 times that every reptile breeder uses. But there is something really unique about a snake, something, especially some of the curvature that a snake demonstrates, and we really kind of leaned into that as we're stylizing some of these marks. And you'll see here, especially like that top curve by the head, we were really emphasizing something along those lines within some of the visual language to kind of symbolize reptiles without being incredibly, like I've mentioned, literal or overused. So with this first concept, with the logo type that we created, it's entirely custom created characters. So with that, we wanted to start with those same principles of simplicity, of geometry, a firm foundation for these letters. And with that, it actually worked out incredibly well as we're starting to create these characters, starting with something like the A. So you can see here the grid of how everything came together with that A, the two diagonal intersecting strokes. Excuse me. And then the V, conveniently enough, is the same shape as an A inverted. You're going to keep that parallel symmetry as well. Again, with the A coming off the other side. And the N is created just from the A and the V being actually united and intersected. So you can see this very fluid design language of the different shapes being repeated, the diagonal symmetry that's allowed. And we really loved this. We really loved where this was, but it wasn't quite there. So that last touch we added to this logo type was the rounding of the edges to kind of, like I mentioned, imply that curve of a snake without being overly literal, overly graphic, and still having that really neat customized character throughout that carries that language. So this would be the logo isolated, black on a white background. Okay. Now with the color added, black on a yellow background, really stands out, really get that full effect. And you'll see across the different applications some of the ways that this really stands out, especially start to think of trade shows of the different reptile logos, of seeing that big yellow banner, big yellow signs, and we'll show some of that as well.
All right guys, so that's it. I really hope that you like it as much as I do. I'm really excited about it. So that being said, now that you've seen it, I do want to talk a little bit about Blake and his company, again, Stewart Design LLC. So I was introduced to them by Garrett. If you guys have probably seen by now, if you're following me, Garrett's rebrand that he just did with his new logo and all of their new stuff, and his change of colors and all that. I was just really impressed with the work they did, and actually the conversation that led me to starting this channel was that phone call that I made to Garrett to kind of ask him about Blake and what his thoughts were on their company and things like that. And he was just really had literally nothing but good things to say. And he introduced me to the fact that like Blake is not just a marketing guy and a design guy, But Blake actually keeps snakes as well. He's a former, or I guess still a current customer of Garrett's. And so I just thought that was kind of cool that, the company that I was working with, and the guy that I was working with directly was, just like one, you and I, a reptile keeper. And so, he had a little bit of insight already, into the hobby and things like that. Blake's also a veteran, which is really great. It's always nice to be able to support, veteran-owned companies and things like that. I actually didn't know that, admittedly, going into it. Blake, he didn't mention it, and Garrett didn't mention it. So, but I found that out after the fact, which that was a nice thing. So I want to kind of let people know about that because it wasn't something that was talked about. Beyond that, the logo, I was super nervous in the presentation because they showed me the colors first, and I saw the yellow, and I was like, in my head, I didn't say anything. And Blake, if you're watching this, you may kind of get a laugh. I hated the idea of having yellow, but then once I saw the first logo design that they gave me 3 options to choose from. They did 3 complete layouts, and they presented all of those to me with the colors and everything all at the same time, and we landed on this one. But yeah, I hated the yellow. I was fully prepared to absolutely shoot it down until I saw it all together. And that was really, I think, the biggest learning experience for me by going through this process with Blake and those guys that, my initial reaction to things is not always the end all be all. A lot of times you have to see it all come together, and that's what those guys are really good at. So I can't say enough good things about those guys, and I know if you guys are interested in getting any kind of branding or rebranding stuff done, because they do both. Obviously they helped me from scratch, but I think their main focus normally has been on rebrand. So if you guys already have a logo that you're maybe not super stoked on after a little while, I would definitely encourage you to reach out to Blake. I'll put his information down in the description below, and I'll probably link Garrett's video as well to kind of show some of his stuff. I think he's got a video out talking about that. But that's really it. That's what I had to update you guys on this week. I've had a really good week, obviously. A lot of really exciting things happening for me here. I hope you guys are doing really well. I know with the whole COVID thing still going on in the world, it's a little bit stressful and crazy for everybody, but just be kind to each other, please, for the love of God. That's what we need right now. So as my buddy Nathan Katz said in his most recent video, don't be a dick. Have a good day, guys. Thanks a lot.